Hey, hobby friends. Your old pal Bo here, the only man on YouTube with a face for radio and a voice for print. Coming at you today with a bit of a follow up. I don't know what to say this. This is extemporaneous, by the way. A bit of a response to Shadow's video today about wandering monsters. And he mentioned some good ones, like a few classics. I think there were at least two. Gelatinous Cube was one. Super old school classic wandering monster, and the basilisk, another super one that really makes sense, like in a Greek sense, or it'd be like in a maze or in a cave complex where, um, there are a lot of blind spots, a lot of places for a monster like a basilisk to hide and use its what do you call it? It basically area effect weapon, right? It's magic weapon, it's magic attack. But really got me thinking because you mentioned some that were really, I don't want to say off the wall necessarily, but non-standard, non-standard wandering monsters, and it really got me thinking about the game. And Shadow and I have had this conversation recently, and you may have had the same experience. I don't know. I have been away from D&D, from any really role playing games for so long. You've heard me talk about playing GURPS, and I do enjoy GURPS. It is my jam. But in a D&D sense, I got started in Redbox in about 86 ish, maybe 85 ish, and took a lot of time off. And now that I'm back, I was I want to have that classic uh, D&D experience, right? Want to have because there are a lot of modules or adventures. Uh, this is the days before the adventure path. Obviously, there's no such thing, but adventures I never played. Never played through Keep on the Borderlands. Never played through I don't know, Ravenloft. Some of these are AD&D. Some of these are D&D. I'm going to use them kind of interchangeably in this sense, just because it's what's on my mind, right? Never played Temple of Elemental Evil. Never played Village of Hamlet. I don't, think of all the classic D&D modules, and I just flat out, I never played them. Some I owned back in the day. I don't know if you know this, but I had a large collection, a large D&D collection, AD&D collection, both going back to the late 70s, early mid 80s, all the Yellow Spine books, all the boxed sets except for Immortal. I did never read Immortal. Um, but they ended up being purged when I left for an LDS mission when I was, still a young man. I came back from that 2 year service, pardon me, and that stuff was gone. And there's nothing I can do about that now. I can be bitter, or I can just choose to buy RPGs that I like and that interest me without I mean, if I've got the money, I just buy it, and if I don't, then I try not to worry about it. Anyway, beside the point here. Point here is that I did not get to play these adventures. Fast forward to 2026, and I want to play these adventures, um, but people that are my age either already played them or have no interest in playing them. The younger people certainly have no interest in playing them, so I'm sort of stuck in limbo. And that's where you get to the wandering monsters, um, or pardon me, wandering encounters, because again, according to the rules, any NPC is technically a monster, um, and any encounter can be positive, negative, or neutral. Remember, there is the D and D, and I mean the BX D&D, the BECME D&D, the OSR D&D, since most OSR games are based on BX rules. The encounter table, right? The 2d6 encounter table. What's the monster going to do? Is it going to attack you? Is it going to um, force you into a quest? Is it going to I don't know. Is it going to leave you alone? What's it going to do? So a wandering monster table, then by definition would be something that the DM makes or has in an adventure. And by that definition, almost any monster can be a random encounter, right? Could be, I don't know, a vampire. If you're wandering in the sewers of a city, maybe the vampire is out looking for food. Maybe the vampire is returning to its coffin from a all night party. If it's like some kind of aristocrat in your town, if you're playing in some fantasy city. So um, best wandering monsters to me would be monsters that suit the ecology of being more likely to be outside of a layer than inside of a layer. If you're going to spend 50% of your time inside a layer of some kind, then you're going to spend 50% of your time, you know, again, looking for food, conducting your business. Um, and I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to encounter something like a lich or a beholder outside the layer, even something like a mind flayer necessarily, although you could encounter a mind flayer outside a layer. It makes sense to me. Um, but classic monsters that I would like to, I guess my responsibility would be, top 10 monsters I'd like to have an encounter with as a player before I die. Before me, your old pal Bo, before I shed my mortal coil, before I am too old to play role playing games, before I head off into the sunset, what would I like? What monsters would I like to encounter? Um, Owlbear, Rust Monster, Basilisk. Oh, any of the classic undead, I guess. Vampire, Lich. Um, I just think it's really unfair to be caught in a situation like that. You know, I could run this game, sure. I could run the game that I would like to play, and I've done that in the past. In the past, my attitude was I will run the sort of games of which I would like to play but never got to play. And I did that for a few years, and I probably will again. But man, I'd like to play one of those classic encounters, classic adventures, classic things. I think I should paint the ammunition bronze. Ooh, why not? Just a touch. Because then I'll go over it with like Null Oil or a thin down speed paint or something and cover that up. Just a taste, just a hint. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of going through and batch painting a little bit. I'm painting these Plague Marines still, but since this is the Pro Acryl Light Bronze, and since I've got it on my wet palette, I'm going through and catching all the bells and the shoulder trim and just anything else that might look bronze. And then I will go later on and darken it with some verdigris or some flesh tone or something like that and darken it up. But this is just me using the bronze that's already on the wet palette from Shadow's earlier stream. So, okay. D&D players. And when I mean D&D players, I mean it could be an OSR game. Playing Burrows and Borderlands. I think Burrows and Borderlands is a pretty good engine to run a lot of old school D&D modules. But you could also include, other things like, of course, the weird science, laser swords, Thundar the Barbarian. All right, my phone is about dead, so I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna close this video out. But players and game masters, sound off and let me know um, if you use these old school monsters, and if not, why not? Would you consider it? Would you consider running those old monsters, or are they just played out to you? You know, anyone that's never encountered them should either play 5e with the kids, or build a bridge and get over it, or run the games themselves. I'm really curious to know what you think in that respect. So leave a comment, subscribe or not, like the video or not. Like Ron Swanson said, it's a free country. So I'm going to get off and I'm going to bid you peace.